I'm Georgia Rose, and you are in the Soul Space with Georgia Rose. Welcome to the Zenkuda community. Oh, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I really have gray hair tonight. Anyway, for those, embrace who you are, baby. Okay, so for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am Georgia Rose. I am an astrologer and a psychic medium and just a spiritual person who tries to be really inspirational to all of you out there. So tonight we're going to talk about June's energy and how that's affecting us. So you can comment live, you can call into the show. We'll put that number on the screen in a little bit, and give me an idea of what this energy feels like for you and what you're going through in your transitions to your soul space and your soul journey. I am just going to actually share the show onto the Zenkuda page on Facebook, and if all of you are looking for some guidance, you can go on that page. It's Zenkuda Soul Space on Facebook, and we are also Zenkuda Official on Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel, which is Zenkuda on YouTube. And let me just do this. And on the show, sometimes we do astrology, we do sometimes tarot cards, we have spiritual guests, all kinds of stuff. So welcome to the Zenkuda Soul Space with me, Georgia Rose. So I want to talk a lot about astrology tonight because I have to tell you, June is really a month of complete and total transition. It's a month where we've actually been building up for years this time. Have anybody noticed that... especially right now in the universe, has anybody noticed how all the stuff that was happening in 2020 is now coming to like this big culmination? Like today we had Fauci in hearings, and last week it was Trump, and all these things that like originated around the time of 2020 and that great conjunction that we had in December of 2020. Now we're all starting to come back around again. And the reason for that is because the energy that we're in right now in the zodiac and the cosmos, just where the Earth is spinning in space, is energy that's been being set up now since 2020 and for the last 4 to 5 years. So now we have an opportunity to really come in and reconcile what we needed to reconcile and also really move forward. So we're going to talk about that a lot on tonight's show. Let me see who's with us right now while everyone's piling into the soul space. I have Joanna Maya on, taking everybody a little bit of time to come on tonight. Usually we got a crowd in here. So June energy comes in, and this energy may feel really different. We've had a lot of energy shifts because we have a lot of planets going into the sign of Gemini. A lot of things happened just in the last few days, this past weekend. We've got Jupiter trining Pluto, which means that it's forming a triangle, which is a conversation of harmony. But in this particular energy, that's going to bring out... I have to fix my chair. Tonight is so funny. Okay, so it's the Gemini energy, guys. All right, let's get serious here in the soul space. Okay, so the Gemini energy is bringing in a lot of distraction. You know, that's the kind of description that we all see all the time. You go look up Gemini energy on the internet, and it's going to tell you, oh, it's airy and it's distracted, and Geminis, they can't focus. But that's really, just one little tip of the iceberg of what Gemini energy is about. And Jupiter is going to be in Gemini for a year. So the Jupiter energy, especially where it is now, having that triangular conversation, trying to Pluto, is an energy that can really move us forward because it's a lot about curiosity. So if there's anything that you've ever been curious about doing or really kind of wanted to do more of in your life, this next year is a wonderful, wonderful time to really start to pursue that and maybe develop it. Funny because I saw a sign. I was going someplace yesterday and I saw a sign on the roadway about fencing lessons. And I thought to myself, I've always wanted to take up fencing. How awesome would that be? So fencing and what was the other thing? Archery. And I was like, oh, I could take up archery and fencing. And then people would be like, wow, she's really a Renaissance woman. But that's the kind of energy that Jupiter in Gemini is. It's going to expand things that you're curious about. It's going to expand your ideas, your imagination. And the great thing about that is we all know great ideas always start with some kind of a something in our imagination. They always start with some curiosity. So this is a great time to move yourself forward and really broaden your knowledge. If there's something that you've been really interested in, whether it's astrology or Reiki or, doing something that just you want to expand your horizon and broaden your whole life, this next year is a fabulous time to do it. And that's why I started an online course. There's a wait list that you can find on my social media and on zenkuda.com. And if you're interested in that course, it's $133. It's going to be over 3 weeks where I'll be, you would learn through video, which I'll be making for you. And then once a week, we all come on live on a mastermind session on Zoom to talk about what we experienced in some of the exercises and the videos. It's going to be an absolutely fabulous time to discover yourself, awaken something inside of you that's really your own personal truth, and also awaken your curiosity and find out, who you really are. The way this energy has been playing out for me is that over the course of time, it's really been this last month or so made me understand more into my own identity and also where I haven't been true to my identity. That Jupiter in Gemini energy makes us curious. I just want to look at the comments, makes us curious, but also will bring out truth, especially in a trine to Pluto, which is our soul's deepest desires and our soul's intention in this lifetime. So it's going to bring things up from the vault. It's going to bring things up from beneath the surface. And one of the things that's been coming up for me a lot is as I try to really be anchored in my own identity and who I really am and the things that are really valuable to me, what's coming up more and more in my life is who really sees me. And I mean really sees you. Like, how sometimes you have a conversation with somebody and you can tell they're really not paying attention, they're really not interested? Well, if you have a lot of people like that in your life, it's time to get new people. Because not to discard the old ones, you can keep them around, of course, but I think this is a time when we're going to start to really think about how people see us, how we show up in the world, and also being really seen, putting our solar light out there, stepping into our true identity and really becoming something that we've always wanted to be, that feels familiar to us, but yet new. And that's really the propulsion, the prodding of the Gemini and Jupiter energy. And so I think this online course is going to be really phenomenal for all of us as we awaken our own personal truth and find what's true to us and what's really meaningful to us. So Jupiter went into Gemini around the 25th, 26th of May, and that's how I've been experiencing it. I'd love to hear about how you've been experiencing it because I think that oftentimes we throw a lot of blankets on the bed. In other words, there are things that we should be looking at, things we should be thinking about, things that we should be working on in our own soul space, but we cover them up. We throw stuff on them. And then like Sarah just said in the comments, she feels like she can't even focus on what I think is bothering me. It's because we have so many layers in our life about these things that we've distracted ourselves with and we've thrown on the bed, instead of just really, ever hear that expression, you made your bed, now lie in it? Well, we're so piled with covers, we can't even find the mattress. And so I think that although that's kind of a silly analogy, I think it describes a lot of the way we're feeling. There's also a lot of transits to Neptune this month, which is a planet that can oftentimes make us confused, even though Neptune, especially where it is in Pisces, is all about connection. It's in its home sign. But Neptune can also be the illusion and the elusiveness of life. And so this Gemini air energy is going to put us in our heads and really make it important for us to drop down into our heart. So that's one of the exercises that we're going to be doing in that online class, is really teaching ourselves how to, when we're in the confusion, when we're in the illusion, when we're deluded by certain things we've put, in the blankets, on the bed, smothering ourselves with it, how can we ground ourselves into truth and clear our minds in order to lessen the confusion? So I'll be doing a lot of exercises like that in that course. So I hope you can join us, Sarah. I know that you're on the wait list and you're interested. So Aaron's on. Hi, Michelle. Aaron says he's a Gemini and he's calling this my moment. I think that is beautiful, Aaron, and it absolutely is. So let me go back and talk a little bit about what I opened the show with, this energy that's been building for the last 4 years, and it's almost like a setup. The planets are really set up in a lot of ways right now that are going to propel us and accelerate us into the future like you can't even imagine. this is an energy that comes in, and in the next several months especially, you're going to see the future completely accelerated. Like even now there seems to be so much going on with the Justice Department and trials and all these things. And along do you see how the backdrop of duality is playing out? Because Gemini is a sign that's also very much dualistic. It's he, she, you, them, do this or you won't be liked. What does society think is right? I think is wrong. It's all duality, black, white, up, down, left, right. All of that is a Gemini energy. And by the time we get to a few more days into June, we have 5 planets in Gemini energy. So we're going to be curious and we're going to want information. Gemini is also the sign of communication. So it's going to be talking, thinking, information overload. Like, what do we do with all this information? Do we need it? So the other thing to work on in Gemini is your own cadence, your own speech. I'm a very fast talker. I've been trying very hard to speak more eloquently and more slow. It's also a time when we want to think about our communication because Gemini can be impulsive. It's an air sign. So we want to make sure that we are thinking before we hit send, thinking before we post something. Really important in this energy to take the time to have the cadence and the thought process. Use your curiosity to think, how is this going to make someone feel? Is this an energy that I can live with? Is this an energy that is going to bring mankind forward and propel us into a new day? Or is this an energy that's going to perpetuate division? That's really, really important. So we start out the month, and so much of the last few years setup has been about this month and the months to come. So what I would say is I would challenge you to go back over these last few years, from 2020 to now, last 4 years, and think about what are the things that you've really been wanting to work on? What are the things that you have been annoyed with? What are the things that trigger you? What are the things that bring you to a place where maybe you have work to do, right? That's soul space. Because now we get a time where the future really becomes accelerated. And the decisions that we make today, the decisions that we make the next couple of months are setting us up for all the way into 26, 27. 2025 is going to be a tumultuous year in a good way because you're going to see a lot of inspiration, and you're going to see, if you're on the right path, you're going to see a lot of things come in that will propel you forward into your soul's identity and what you came here to do in this lifetime. By 26 and 27, you're doing it. Such important energy. I can't even stress enough for you guys how important this energy is. What does it look like? It looks like technology, AI, the future. Manned space is going to be, tremendous to other planets. It looks like more of the population and more of the general mass coming into a space where we are really looking to live our soulful life, our soul space, coming into a place where now the energy is really about, what do I want to do from my heart? How do I want to spend my days? What's really meaningful to me? And being seen for that. Like I said, a lot of this energy comes out, people aren't really seeing each other. People aren't really in a heartfelt place with each other. And that you're going to see be turned into an energy where people are going to crave one-on-one interaction and connection. Something that 2020 took away, right? And we've been trying to repair that ever since. So Jupiter in Gemini is a 12-year orbit, meaning that Jupiter goes into Gemini every 12 years. So think about what was happening 12 years ago for you, the last time Jupiter was in Gemini. What's your 12-year cycle? However, what I can tell you is Jupiter has not been in this position in the sky, while Pluto, which is our soul and our soul's desire, was in Aquarius. Those two planets have not trined while Pluto was in Aquarius since the late 1700s. And we all know what happened in the late 1700s. We had revolution. We had revolution here in the United States of America, France, all these governments and all these structures, whether it was religion or monarchies or whatever it was, everything really started to unravel. and new things happened. We were propelled into a future then, which is a little bit almost now. So the 5 planets that are going to be in Gemini in that energy of complete change is the sun, the moon. At some point this week, we have on the 6th, we have a new moon. Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, 5 planets in Gemini. Okay, so this is how it's going to go down, guys. Jupiter went into Gemini the end of May. Now we've got early June, all the movement as the planets all go into Gemini. All those planets I just mentioned, which will all go into Gemini at one point or another in June. When they all go into Gemini, they're going to do that trine to Pluto. So that's why the energy is now future oriented. What is our soul desire? What is our soul telling us? You're going to see big transitions, big change. They may hurt. They may be uncomfortable. They may be things you might not want to do, but they're really, really, really for your soul's ignition. They're really, really for your soul's benefit and your soul's intention for you in this lifetime. It's really going into that soul space. So as each planet moves into Gemini and trines Pluto, we've got both air signs, right? Aquarius is an air sign, and so is Gemini. So now you've got a lot of air. We're in our heads. We've got movement. Air moves things, right? Like think of the winds of change blowing in. It moves all the air around. That's what's going to happen. So as things are blowing around, you may feel like you're in a tornado or a hurricane. As a matter of fact, I was dreaming about a tornado the other night. It was unbelievable. But if you use the wind for good and you use the wind to fill your sails and really move forward, this energy is going to be fabulous for you. Absolutely fabulous. If you try to bring yourself against the wind, not going to be so good. All right. So make sure you're really trying to go with the wind. Allow the wind to bring you and move you where you want to go. So on the 1st, we have the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter in Gemini. All right. Venus catches up to the Sun on the 4th of June, which is actually tomorrow. Yeah. On the 4th of June, which is Tuesday. When Jupiter catches up to, when Venus, catches up to the Sun, it's what we call cazimi. It's an old word in Hellenistic astrology. And what it means is that it's in the power of the sun. Whatever planet is on the same degree as the sun, it's in the power of the sun. It's almost lost in the sun's superpower, but it generates the energy into that planet, and then the planet moves on and touches other things in our chart. So look where Gemini is in your particular chart. In my house, in my chart, it's my 6th and 7th house, which is work and relationships. So it's really cool because I've been meeting a lot of new people in work-related things and developing things and a lot of transition in my work as well. So that's been really cool. So on the 4th, we have Venus doing that. On the 14th, Mercury does that. So this is a month where we're going to keep getting those electrical charges from the sun. And believe me, it hasn't been lost on me that we've got solar flares that are epic happening all over the world from the sun. So this is all makes sense. You've got 5 planets in an air sign, and they're all cazimi with the sun at some point in that Gemini energy. So that's why you're getting solar flares. So we're really getting this Gemini energy. By the 6th of the month, there's a full moon. And this is really a powerful full moon. Because of all this Gemini energy that's happening, it's mutating things in our life. It's reality being fulfilled. It's an extreme split of energy as well, because when you have that much power in the sky, it's going to split things off because that's Gemini. Gemini is duality, the twins. So that's why you're seeing more so than ever before. You can blame the Trump verdict or the things that are going on Capitol Hill here in the United States or other things that are going on across the globe for the duality that we're seeing all over the media. But it's also because we have all these planets in Gemini. People who wouldn't normally post or talk about different sides of things are really doing it. The amount of memes that I'm seeing here in my country politically right now with people taking sides is extreme, very extreme. It's not just because of the events that are happening in our environment. It's because we've got all this Gemini energy that wants to kind of split us apart a little bit. But the reason why Gemini comes in and does that is because it wants us to understand adaptability and integration. The real best use of Gemini when the wind blows is adapting to it. Where is it going? What is it trying to show me? Where does it want to bring me? Where does it lead me? That's the higher octave use of the energy. Is it bringing me to a place I'm curious about, where I can learn more and really broaden myself? So as Jupiter approaches that trine to Pluto where it is now, the energy becomes more powerful. And as each planet goes into Gemini, the energy becomes more and more powerful, because in those first degrees of Gemini, they all trine Pluto. And Pluto right now is in the first degree of Aquarius. It's also retrograde, bringing out more and more introspection. When it's slow moving, Pluto really makes us introspective and think about our own values and what we really want. So really, and also Saturn goes retrograde by the end of the month. So we've really got a lot of intense energy in air blowing through. All right. So on the 2nd, which was yesterday, Jupiter trine Pluto, that was when it was exact, powerful. This makes us react to new environments, new events. So things are going to be happening at a very rapid pace, especially the first half of June. And then Saturn and Mars are in Pisces. So Mars doesn't really like Pisces because Mars is an action planet, and Pisces is a water sign that is ruled by Neptune, and there's a lot of illusion and a lot of confusion. So as these events unfold, and we have all of this air energy in Gemini this month, it's going to be confusing. We're going to be propelled and blown in a direction where we should be going, but we also have to really dig deep, use that Pluto energy to discern what's real and what's not. Because there's a lot of confusion out there about what's real and what's not. And that's why you're seeing this, the Fauci hearings today about COVID and how COVID was handled here in America. That's why you're seeing all this skepticism and all this, well, what is true and what isn't true, The same with the recent trials that we've had with other prominent figures. It's because Mars and Saturn are still in a sign that is confusing, because Mars wants to move forward. Mars is all about the get up and go, the action, knowing what's real. And it's in a sign that's very elusive, very woo-woo, right? So as Pluto brings up our deepest desires, we've got Mars and Saturn saying, whoa, put on the brakes. You don't really know what's true here. You need more information. So what I'm going to say to you guys, especially all of you singles out there, if you meet someone this month, go slow, because it's a lot of energy that we can be misled or we can mislead others. And it's also a lot of energy where things people tell us may not be true. We may want them to be true. And so we go into an illusion of what's true because we want something. That's the soul's desire. Pluto does that, right? So you can see where this almost becomes circular. We've got Gemini energy pushing us into the future, but then we've got some really confusing energy coming in saying, but wait, is that true where I'm supposed to go? I'm a little confused. I don't believe the GPS anymore, right? And then we've got Mars and Saturn saying, well, I can't go as fast as I want, because Mars is stuck in that watery Pisces. So this is when you're really going to want to speak the truth and no bullshit. Like, censor yourself. Show up for yourself. And that's really the culmination of what this energy is all about. And that's why it's shown up for me in a lot of ways. Like, people don't always really see who we are. People don't always see us, right? It's not a matter of being the loudest person in the room or the most unconventional. It's about people sincerely seeing you as a soul and respecting you and have an honor for that. And, whatever you want to do, they're interested in that. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with, because as this month progresses and goes into even more and more energy that's going to be very like this, just amplified and amplified, you really want to ask yourself, where is the no bullshit zone? And I know I'm cursing and I'm on public access on Fridays at noon. Where is the no bull bleep no zone? Because this is an energy where there's going to be a lot of bullshit out there in the world. I just said it again. There's going to be so much stuff in our environment, but it's all there to test us. It's like a radio antenna that's trying to find the right station. That's who we are right now. We're trying to find the right station. And there's a lot of static out there. But if you shine your inner light and you really get connected with your soul space, your antenna is going to find the source. Your antenna is going to find the no BS zone. And that's what this month is all about. That's why we have all these planets in Gemini energy, which is an energy of curiosity. And Jupiter, which is all about the truth. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, which is all about the truth and awakening to the truth. So that's why the energy is all around us. It's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's almost a bombardment of information. But the universe is trying to give us the chops to understand and discern what's real and what's not. And the way we do that is by our inner GPS, our inner compass. You know the truth. Your soul knows the truth. You've just got to get all that stuff off the bed so you can lay down, meditate, and see your truth. All right? So what are you guys saying in the comments tonight? Okay. Ann Rothney is a Gemini. This is a good year for you, Ann, because Jupiter is going to bring you good tidings. However, what I will say is Jupiter expands everything it touches. So if it's going to go over an area of your chart where you've been having difficulty, it's going to make that a little amplified. And the reason it does that is so that you have to take care of it. It's like the splinter in the paw, right? You think, oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing. Until it becomes that level of intolerance. And then you have to take the splinter out. That's what Gemini is going to do for a lot of us. Good afternoon, Gina. Good afternoon, Gina Marie. I saw someone say good morning, and I was like, wait, they're probably in Australia. Gemini in the second house, Sarah. That is going to bring things up for you about. Second house is all about what we value and our self-preservation. In the natural zodiac, that's ruled by Taurus. So with Gemini there in your particular chart, that's going to be an energy where you need information to feel secure. You want information. You're curious about things. And when you feel your curiosity is assuaged and satisfied, then you feel safe. You feel secure. So the second house is not just the things we value, our material possessions, but the second house is also the mechanisms and the things we put in place, the scripts we run, the complexes we engage in order to survive and have our survival. They're very much... second house issues are the things we feel we need to do in order to preserve and self-preserve and be safe. Pauline says Pisces, higher spirituality. No, most are in 3D. They have no vision, not Neptunian necessarily. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about that Pisces energy because Neptune is very important in the play of this third act that we're in right now of the zodiac. Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, so it's in its home sign. Neptune symbol is the two fishes going in opposite direction. It's as above, so below. It's religion and spirituality. It's, our spiritual life, our soul, our intuition, our connection to that, and also getting bogged down in earth. It's that connectivity. So the high octave of Neptune is spirituality, it's connection, it's meditation, it's returning to source. But Neptune in Pisces is also about decay. That's why you have the two fishes swimming in opposite directions. It's about what do I need to release and let go of? It shows us decay so that we return to source. Something dies, we bury it, right? But it returns to life in the soil. Right? Even when, horrible thing to say, but even when we die, if we're buried, we become nutrients for other things, right? So as we understand decay, we also understand our connection to source, the source that created us. So Neptune and Pisces is all about that creation to source, connection to creation, connection to source, and about accepting decay as part of life. So that's why when we have an energy like Saturn, which is our authority, in a sign like Pisces, it can be very difficult because Saturn is limitation. And in that cycle of life, of decay and rebirth and, nurturing and returning to source, there's no limitation. So Saturn doesn't really like being in Pisces. And it's going to be there for a while. And the reason why Neptune is such a heavy player in this whole mechanism is because Neptune goes all the way to the last degree of Pisces, and you would think it was going to head right into Aries, which would be wonderful, but it retrogrades, and it doesn't go into Aries until 2025. So in the last degrees of Pisces, Neptune is extremely potent, and that's why it's giving us so much confusion. It's working in a conversation with all these planets in Gemini and saying, we know you want to be curious and we know you want to, go full steam ahead and see everything in black and white and have this duality, but we're going to confuse you. So you have to integrate the energy and find adaptability. Make sense? That's what's going on. So watch those confusing things, because this is going to really bring duality, especially on the 6th when we have that new moon in Gemini. I'm sorry, I think I said a full moon before. I meant a new moon in Gemini. It's also conjunct Venus, which can be a sweet energy. However, this is how on the 6th, and I would say this energy is going to last until about the 9th. This is how this new moon energy is going to go. So we have the new moon on the 6th, which I think is Friday. And the new moon on the 6th is right by Venus in Gemini also, all in Gemini. But the moon squares Saturn right after this new moon. So it's like really got that energy of squaring our authority, our limitations. So how does this play out? It's extremely potent. Watch your words, because Mercury is there too. Watch your words. Friday is going to be a day where people are really going to be very, split in their opinions, and words can really come out. So reactive. It's power plays. But what it really is more than anything is, if you are someone who's really taking part in this Gemini energy and accelerating into the future, especially with Pluto in Aquarius, also is accelerating us into the future. That's that Uranus energy, that lightning bolt, unconventional energy. So a lot of us are seeing a future. We're going into a future. We're looking for a new day. We're looking for new invention and pioneering things, and we're excited about new things that are coming in. But at the same time, we have a big portion of the world that is so steeped in tradition, and they're resisting what's new, and they're an old guard, and they want to be in the status quo. All of these things, and I'm not getting political, I'm just saying any campaign, advertising or promoting or products or anything with slogans and things about bringing things back to the way it was, or return to your roots, or any of those type of things. There's so many products on the market now that are like that, really going retro. Don't buy into it. And I'm not saying that to be any kind of, a statement, other than the energy now is about strength and authority, but it's about being in our own authority and our own agency. However, people who don't understand that and are not connected to a soul space, and we send that love there, they are going to want to entrench themselves and entangle themselves into a status quo that it only exists in their mind. That's that Neptune, Piscean illusion, deludedness that will come forward. And they are going to really be resistive of any change. So this is meeting the status quo, and it's going to be met with strength and authority in a three-dimensional way, where we have a lot of things that are going to play out. We're seeing that happen now in the Middle East. We're seeing it happen in Ukraine and Russia. We're even seeing some things gearing up in this country. That is really going to come to a head in this type of an energy in the next few weeks. Meeting resistance, the old guard meets resistance with authority. The status quo meets the resistance. And that's just the energy. This is going to be in play till the end of the year. This is boundaries against other boundaries. It's natural boundaries that rub against each other. And we can say that that is a very negative thing, and we can say it's a very volatile thing. We can also say it has a good reason. It wants us to move forward. It wants us to integrate, to ask questions, to be in each other's energy so that we are curious and bring in more information. Gemini, more truth, Jupiter, more future of our soul's desire, Pluto in Aquarius. We got to shake it all up. Remember I said we're in an energy quake? We still are. We got to shake it all up. So this really potent energy, things can come to a little bit of a head around Friday when we have that new moon. But what I'm going to tell you guys seriously is watch what's occurring in your life over this next weeks, especially this month, because this is a precursor for what is going to be lined up in the years to come, especially the end of 25, 26, and 27. That's the energy of the cosmos. It's the energy out there in the astrological world, bringing it into our earth. This is an energy that, if we use it correctly, can propel us into an accelerated future. But if we try and stay in a status quo that no longer exists, that's where we're going to meet a lot of resistance. We can make whatever our heart's desire is better as long as we stay in truth. So that's why there's so much confusion in the world now. So the winds of change are coming in, and they're blowing everywhere. So where do you want them to blow you? That's the question. And then as the month progresses, we've got Mars in Taurus, which is getting ready to square Pluto. That's that soul's desire energy. So that's where our resistance to change becomes more extreme, which always has to happen, right? We have to reach that level of intolerance before we know we got to do it. And then as the year closes, we get more of the energy that'll bring us into more of that future where things can be integrated and we can finally find a way where, can't we all get along? Kind of comes in. One of the words that I hear that's become a buzzword, I keep hearing it all over media, and I'm hearing it on a lot of reality shows, strangely enough, is suddenly everyone's talking about grace. Let's give him grace. Can you just give me a little grace? I feel like that's become an energy of not having to take accountability. What is grace really? Well, to me, grace is a beautiful energy of elevation, not an energy that's supposed to be an excuse for things. So we'll talk more about that on the next show. But I think you're going to, maybe if we can really get into an explanation of what grace is, I think that's going to be our saving grace. If we can give grace to ourselves in this energy. And what I'm going to say may sound a little bit off and a little selfish to some people, but I hope you interpret it well. And what I want to say is, in terms of giving ourselves grace, the best way we can do that is to show up for ourselves. And this is an energy where we have an opportunity to be truthful about the things that are meaningful to us without worry about what someone's going to say or do or feel about it. And I don't mean that in a selfish way or a way that will harm others. I mean that in a way that we have to start with ourselves first. When we're comfortable in our own skin and we really understand who we are and we're in our own authority and our own agency, which is really what Saturn in Pisces wants us to do, connect with ourselves, then we're strong enough to understand what truth is and we'll be able to discern any situation because we have that solid agency from which our own GPS is operating from. And this particular energy is an energy that wants to pull us off that. It wants to rock us and shake us and really make us not know where to go so we don't go anywhere. That's the wrong use of the energy. We really have to propel our future forward by going into our own soul space and our own connection to who we are. And that's what that online course that I'm going to be doing is about. So after Sunday, the 9th, you're going to see a lot of conflict now come out in the open. Things that were kind of brewing under the surface now come out in the open. And so it is a very, very action-based month. You're going to see a lot of people really asking about, this is true, no, I know what's true, no, you don't know what's true, I know what's true. You're going to see that all over the place. You're going to see this with very descriptive language because Mercury is there and Mars in Pisces wants to, come out, but it's being held back a little bit. And then Mars goes into Taurus on the 8th. So then the 9th is Sunday, I think, or Monday. And what happens is the energy kind of explodes now. It's like when Mars goes into Taurus, it's set free. It releases things. So we're going to have some descriptive language coming out and some real displays of self-righteousness, I hate to say. And then, of course, all squares are Saturn are rough, but Venus squares Saturn on the 11th. And that's going to be tough because as we're trying to propel in the future, that's an energy that the things we want and the things we desire and the things we really value, we probably don't get them. We have a little bit of a setback, but it'll all work out in the end. Don't worry about that. And that's really the energy of the week. So I'm going to talk about the rest of June on the next show, but I want to go into our comments. So Pauline says, yep, my sun sign is a Sag Gemini, affects me right as opposite sign. Yeah, that Sag Gemini is going to be an axis of truth. You want all the information you can get. You're a truth seeker. That Sagittarius energy is one where you also speak the truth quite often. You will blurt out the truth. Hi, Kelly. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Michelle says we have fallen far from grace. I know, and everyone's using that word. I don't know. It's just a strange thing. I've been noticing that lately. I don't know if you guys have. Yeah, a pass is grace. I don't know about that. I mean, when we say God's grace, I don't think He's given us a pass. I think it means that if we do our work, we'll be rewarded. I don't think it's like don't do your work, you're fine. I also think grace is to me what it feels like when I think about it in my body. When sometimes when I want to get an interpretation of something, I just resonate on it and let myself feel it in the body. Grace to me feels like holding space. Like, I know you're going through a really rough time and you may sometimes act out a little bit, but I'm going to sit here on the sofa and just, give you support while you go through it. Because I know that you're just going through it. This isn't really your identity. It isn't really the truthful part of you. It's just something you got to kind of work through. That's grace to me, is not holding someone's feet to the fire for a moment. We all have a moment in time. I think that is grace, but I think that to not examine that moment is not a good thing. That's just how I feel, but that's just me. That might not resonate with you. And Pauline says, truth is where we are at in our own journey, not same for another. I'm so glad you said that, because that is the adaptation, the adaptability, the adapting that Gemini energy really wants of us. It's Gemini energy is two things can be true at the same time. Like I'm live right now, but I'm going to be recorded later, right? Two things are true. The sky looks blue, but it's going to get black later. Like two things can be true. I can be a real estate broker and an astrologer. I can be a really amazing person and I can suck sometimes. Two things can be true. So that's the Gemini energy. And so what's true for me isn't true for you, but that doesn't mean it's not true, right? So that's the multiplicity, as we call it, of Gemini. Holding space makes sense as definition of grace. I like that. That's just how it feels to me. And so that's my definition. Other people may have a different definition. But I think that one of the things, the tricks that I've learned, especially being more psychic, is when I want to know the meaning of something, I just pause for a few minutes and think about what it feels like. I get salient with it and really think about where am I feeling that word or that thing in the body? Where is it affecting me? What does that feeling really feel like? And then I try and use a descriptive word. One of my pet peeves is people always say, I'm upset. And you've heard me say on the show, I always say, I don't know what that means. Upset isn't like a thing. Upset is just, you upset a table of dinners or you upset the apple cart. But what does upset feel like? It's uncomfortable, but specific. So are you jealous? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you grieving? What upset are you? Right? So I always try to identify things with exactly what they feel like. Probably because I have 5 planets in Scorpio. Hey, Liz, how are you doing? So I have some homework for all of you guys. I'm doing a whole new platform, whole new websites, everything for Zencuda, because I want a place where we can all be interactive. And also where I can do online courses and have mastermind calls that are recorded, and you can go there and watch them, and we can be a community. And it's almost done. I have a wonderful girl in Vancouver who's doing everything for me. So I need testimonials. If you have had a reading with me or a astrology chart done, or even a healing session with me, or you just come to one of my events, if you could just drop me an email with a little testimonial at connect connect@zencuda.com. I would absolutely love you for it. I will just use your initials if you give me permission. I won't put your name on. And we will, copy and paste that into our website. It's probably going to be up and running, I would say, less than 2 weeks now, and it's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of online courses on there and videos and all kinds of stuff that you guys can do. It's going to be so great. And I'm just so happy to get that out there. It's my Plan B retirement place. Cheryl says that she's in such a happy place, hoping it never ends. I know, and you just got back from a beautiful trip with your daughter. I saw your media. How wonderful was that? Testimonials for anything. It could be the show. It could be a way I've touched you, or if you found any of my content valuable, just drop me a few lines about it. It doesn't have to be, a huge thing. I would just absolutely be so grateful for you. Because I'm trying to get more people to get into their soul space. I just want people to be in a happy place and process their emotions. That's what we all need to do, right? So anybody have any questions about this Jupiter in Gemini energy? I'm going to go back into the comments in case I missed anything. I said hi to everybody. Hey, Julie, how are you? Claire's on. Hey, Claire. Okay, so let me scroll down to the bottom. It's so nice to see you all. Gina Marie, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Oh gosh, this is going to be so fun if everybody does that online class. You can actually, if you want to just book that online class on Zencuda.com, if you just drop me a line and you want to be put on the wait list, you're not sure yet, you can do that too. It's going to be $133, and we're all going to have such a great time in that. Oh, the Schumann Resonance guest Pauline's asking about, that was Phoenix Green. Phoenix Green is, I love Phoenix. He's my friend. We're going to have him on. One of the things I've been thinking about, and I'd love feedback on this because I want to know what you guys want to hear on the show and what you want me to talk about or have a guest about. One of the things I've been thinking about is once a month or so having a guest on and doing like a Soul Space Spotlight. So we could have Phoenix back on. There's a couple of other people. I've had guests in the past, and it's always been great shows. We had Kathy on, Gagliano. She just finished her second book. We should have her on. Have them all back again and really, have like a Soul Space family. But the Schumann resonance, I have to say, for those of you who want to learn more about that, the Schumann resonance that measures the heartbeat of the earth. And it actually is an energy where we can tell what's going on in the earth by the spikes and the Schumann and all that kind of thing. It's very tied in sometimes to the solar flares and things like that. And it's a good thing to watch because you can Google it because sometimes if we have physical ailments, you'll know it's from a solar flare or the Schumann resonance. And the Schumann resonance is a chart that oftentimes when there's a lot of compassion on the earth, the chart will go spiking and high. And when the earth's in distress, it will go spiking and high because some people, those of us who believe that Gaia, the earth, is a living, breathing thing. So we're going to go to commercial and then the end of the show. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much. I'm here every Monday night at 7 o'clock in the Soul Space. And if you want to stay on board, we've got Tea Time with Teresa at 8. And we are debuting a brand new show here at Strong Island, which we're absolutely so excited about. We're going to have 9 o'clock. We're doing LifeVac on. They have an absolutely amazing device that's been saving lives, and it's a great show. Whole new set for it. Really exciting. So I hope you'll stay on and watch us tonight on the lineup that we have here on Strong Island Television. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next Monday night, 7 o'clock. Tea Time is next. Stay tuned.